Hello, welcome to episode 4 of these journeys through queer circus. 4 amazing artists that will be walking us through their own experiences and joys and challenges about crafting and creating queer work. This journey now is a bit of a homecoming, if I might say. I've been filming this in Montreal, where I had my own first experience with something that might be called explicitly queer circus. And you may have guessed it already, I met each of these 4 individuals at some space, time, or location across this very interesting city. First of all, let's listen to Jennifer Miller of New York's Circus Amok, with an amazing exploration of politics and what it might mean to be queer and do queer and think queer and create queer. So hello, Jennifer.
Hello, Charles.
Thank you for joining me in this journey through queer circus.
An honor and pleasure, my dear.
I think that we can certainly say that you may have done some queer circus. To introduce you, Jennifer Miller is the director and founder of Circus Amok, a one-ring, no animal, queer as fuck, free circus extravaganza that has been touring the parks of New York annually since 1994. Done a lot of queer circus. What do we really need to know about Jennifer, though?
What do we really need to know? No, I mean, those are the things, you know. I think I'm a circus maker, a dancer, a theater artist, aging, you know, the changing of the body. My body is in my thoughts a lot these days. A New Yorker, Vermonter. Yeah, I think that's a good.
Love it. Love it.
Activist.
Love it. Well, then, how did you know that we were going to leap directly into that? You've shared some images with us. Some of those images with your productions that are not without activism.
I think the images that we chose are images that just give a sense of the gestalt of the circus. So, you know, we have various kinds of acts. Some are more didactic acts that we talk about that, you know, that are like agitprop.
Right.
Some are more poetic. But what we're seeing here is actually backstage, changing clothes, big group numbers, and I think you're seeing a lot of our DIY. We've been DIY before the term was popular, and that's only for lack of funds, and also a deep belief in recycle, reuse. And you're seeing the gender queerness of the whole thing. You're seeing what is sometimes drag, but is sometimes a man in a dress, or sometimes just a woman in a beard, you know, being herself. We can never quite know, because in Circus Amok, the gender is a constantly raveling and unraveling fabric. And I think there's a charivari, which, you know, in a traditional circus would be a big parade around the ring. And for us is like the Circus Amok, and it's people running in, and you see someone getting twirled and someone else drinking and someone else, you know, dancing. I think you're going to see some opening shot tableaus and some ending tableaus. And some audience energy. I think you'll see Coney Island. So you give a sense of our outdoorness, of the essence of bringing this genderqueer, radical, ragged, politic aesthetic to parks all around New York City. I mean, don't you think that's what we're getting from it?
think that's totally it. There is also a massive scene with you standing on a podium, and you're screaming something through a huge mask.
Ah, that's right, that's right, that's right. Those beautiful masks made by Gregory Corbino. And this was in a big show we did about climate change. Um, and these were two goddesses who were sort of deciding some fates. And one was the pessimist, me, and the other was the optimist. And we had to put those on and off many times during the show. But I remember standing there just screaming to the audience, like my sister was like, "Sister," and that big mask, "Why are you saying being so negative or something?" I don't remember, but I remember this going, "Because I'm an aging, raging, menopausal goddess who's lost all faith in humanity," and the personal liberation of screaming that at parks throughout New York, and also the amount of women that came up to me afterwards who'd never heard, because they hadn't been to Menopause the musical, menopause spoken about from the stage in parks, screamed in public like that, was amazing. So the way that we think of politics is so wide ranging, right? From talking about climate change to just, to pieces of our lives that are kept stigmatized.
Well, with that may be my next segue into this next statement about political work. Why do we need to do political work?
Well, that's a question. That's a great question. Why do we need to? I was going to say we don't need to, or do we need to, or who needs to? I needed to because, that's who I was. So as an artist, that's kind of what I always wanted to do. My earliest mentors were political theater makers. I was an activist. It became a way for me to do political work without having to go to as many meetings that I wasn't as good at sitting through. But I felt like with Circus we're making a big, a rally at every park we go to, bringing up issues, talking about issues, gathering groups together. So that's sort of why do I, but this interesting question of why do we have to? And I think that sometimes we have to do things because they're not there yet.
Ah,
So, for example, a space for queer
mm,
performers, circus performers and physical theater performers and political theater performers who want to be queer out in public doesn't really exist. And so Circus has always sort of summoned or drawn those performers for whom working in this world allows them to bring their whole selves. I had to do it because I wanted that space for myself.
wow. Well, and you created the space. You created your own company and created a space there where space was not. Not everybody's quite so lucky to work with a Jennifer Miller, right? So they're
Give me a call. I'm starting back up after a
oh,
few years of being an
oh,
aging, raging, depressed person. I'm ready to do it again.
well, then here we go. Yes. Well, then I may have to walk back on that statement. But
Oh,
I'm there.
you may have to walk back on that stage. Come on,
Well, then. Yeah, the call is a strong one. Are there other artistic directors out there though that may not be quite so open to this kind of world for that, or do you find that you are working in a community? I guess maybe that's my question.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of changes happening. You're talking circus when you say
Yes,
artist.
yeah, yes.
There's a lot of change happening in the circus world, I think, but um, it's slow, and then it begs these really interesting questions of the relationship of gay and queer. So I know that there is a kind of an aspirational sense among some gay circus performers to be welcomed into the circus world. Um, and I think that normalizing somehow same-sex, love as expressed in a duet trapeze act is one thing, and I think it's a little different, I think, than sort of gender queerness or just the performer themselves being really outside of a kind of, perform circus character behavior that we're used to. It's so complex. This is like, we could
Well,
take a
yes.
whole, hour on this because, there is space for queer performers, but is it only when they're the singular sort of fabulous queen, right? Or is there only space for one in every world? A freak for the norms to be in relation to. I don't know. I do know that there are circuses that would invite me or welcome me in to do a number, but that I might not feel safe in with their audiences. I need the support and some other queer performers. We need to make the queer world invite the audience in, so the whole community out in the park is in this world together. We want to make sure we're not just the odd freaks on the stage over there. So I think there is a little more room for queer and gay performance in the circus world, but there's still this real feeling like we don't want to scare the ticket buyers. So what does it mean then? Is it about sexuality and gender, or for our queer world, it's much more disruptive than that? I think, is queer and political, or am I using queer as something that encapsulates political as well? That we're disturbing the normative in terms of capitalism and being wanting to make an anti-white supremacist stance at every moment, questioning normative cultural positions. As I did as a young queer coming up, when there was the assimilationist route, and there was like, we are reinventing everything, and that's sort of the route that we took into the kind of the politics and aesthetics of the circus. Yet it's rooted in a very traditional circus form. It's more trad than a lot of contemporary circus.
Oh, love. I love that you destroy some of those barriers and boundaries. I love that. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. You have also been involved in sort of connections to burlesque scenes, right?
I
Um,
have, yeah.
so is there something that might be different about a queer circus world and a queer burlesque world, or is there even a queer burlesque world? Asks Charles.
I think there is, and I'm not that deep in it. I think because I worked in the sideshow for a long time, there was a lot of sideshow burlesque crossover. And the thing about and I was also a postmodern dancer, still am. There's no money to be made there. So it was, a lot of dancers I knew moved to burlesque because you could make a buck. That was show business, right? And so I would do that too. That's where you could work the club scene with number. Um, and again, there you had to be in kind of a genderqueer burlesque world. I had to feel comfortable because a lot of it's about the girly girl. But there's a lot of great feminist burlesque performers. Dirty Martini, world famous Bob, Julie Atlas Muse, and then there's the Boylesques, Tigger. Now I'm talking people of my particular generation. Sorry for all you young ones who I haven't kept up with. But super transgressive, really doing the thing as I did in the sideshow, of doing it and opening it up and breaking it apart at the same time, bringing blood, bringing money, bringing the grotesque, all into the world of burlesque. And I'm totally inspired by the showbiz, the sort of production aesthetic of it.
Well, believe it or not, I may have to ask my last question already. Look at that.
God.
Look at that. In these worlds that we have been talking about, the possibility of queer world making, or the queer burlesque worlds and queer circus worlds. So A question I've asked of everyone in this whole journey through Queer Circus. What is it that we can do to make circus more queer? What is it that we can do to make circus something that we queers or all other marginals may wish to run away with us?
Yeah, I think it's the whole spectrum. I think it's from making space for gay work in a traditional circus that wants to be in a, and by traditional, I actually mean even contemporary. Um, but yeah, let all the genders, not let, you see, even I have some kind of tolerance mentality, but all genders and sexualities should be welcome on one end. That's the beginning.
Mm,
And
mm,
then on the other end is to look, for new kinds of theater that are taking on all of the political and social fucked upness
mm,
that's making the world that we're in, and take that on as part of bringing queerness into circus. Um,
mm,
so that's the challenge. We're kind of in that end, but I think anywhere along the way is all fabulous.
mm, mm, mm. I kind of love that we end with fabulous and we began with political action. Somehow fabulous and political are
And we got to make
it's a both and.
make it accessible. Low ticket prices, intersectionality, queerness, class, race, all together.
I hear a call to arms. I hear a call to masks. I hear a call to stages.
I
So
hear
thank
culture
you.
dinner.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you
Always a
so much.
pleasure to talk to you.
And now, Eric J. Miles, dancer and creator in Circus Worlds. You will hear a reference at one point in the conversation about his own responses to the Black Lives Matter movements and protests in response to the murder of George Floyd. Listen carefully to that segment. You will hear him make reference to a video. That video is called Reflection with an X, and it was produced by Matthew Richardson. Now, Eric. So, hello, Eric.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm thrilled that you're here.
I'm pretty excited about this too.
Oh, we're doing a journey through Queer Circus, and look, you were a part of this journey through Queer Circus.
I've come to realize that I'm more involved with Queer Circus than I actually realized.
So maybe this is going to lead me to my next massive question that I've asked for every person in this interview sequence. It is, what does the world need to know about you, Eric J. Miles?
I always find that's a pretty large question, and it could have a very large answer. I, jokingly would say, like, what you need to know about me is that I'm here. I'm queer. That's so cliche, but I feel like just what I do is what I do. It's who I am is what, and it took a long time for me to be comfortable with myself, and in finding my comfortability, it also involved my gayness, my queerness, but I never really put that out in the front of what I am or who I am. It's just a part of what I am and who I am. And I think the results of what I do, whether it be in my dance or in pieces I choreograph or how I teach, I think those elements of me just come through. They come through and they're just known, and I don't think they're something of question that needs to be questioned. It's just right out there.
Love it. Well, maybe that'll connect with this comment you mentioned to me when I said, Eric, I'm doing a series. I want to talk about maybe some experience with Queer Circus with you. And you said, yes, I have this real memory of something a student had said.
Yes. It's one of those moments that you realize you can influence someone's life or someone's perception or what their life has become, and you don't even know you're doing it at the time. And it was some students I had that I crossed years later, just out and about, and they were like, Eric, you really made an impression on me. And I was like, in what way? And they said, because I never really had a gay teacher, a gay male figure in front of me before, and I was struck by that because I never made a point of saying that I was gay or this, but it's something that everyone just knew. My students knew of me, and they said that for them, it gave them a lot of freedom of who they were at that time, and led them to become more comfortable and with who they are now. And I found that I was very, very touched by that, and very humbled by that as well.
The human contact, the cross-generational transmissions of we're here, we're queer, and it's a beautiful thing.
I mean, they were at one point they were saying that when they were taking class for me, that it made them feel like it was okay to be who they are, and to feel how they felt. And I'm like, so that's one of those moments that was humbling. And when you realize as a teacher, you could be an influential figure to young people's lives, more than you can ever imagine how you touch them or what their needs are at that time.
And that was a circus student, right?
Yes, it was a circus student, yes. Yes, it was. Actually, it was several circus students.
I knew that was going to be what you ended up saying. It's never just one, that particular power.
I think that's very important because, as an artist, you have to be comfortable with yourself to put whatever your product is, or whatever you want to sell, or whatever you want to have comments about. Like, you have to be comfortable with yourself to be able to let other people believe you and be comfortable with you.
Well, a part of the you that is you is also touching on multiple arts, right? We also have a couple of images of you as a star performer with the ballet jazz with the BG in Montreal.
For many, I was with ballet jazz in Montreal for many years, 17 years, and so I had several experiences in my travels and in my performances. And costumes that I wore, and there was this a piece that we did that was choreographed for me by William Whitener called Blue and Green, and it was a very touching piece for myself. It was me being a man of color, a black man. The music was Miles Davis, one of my favorites, another black man, black artist. And at one point in this piece, it was called Blue and Green, to the same music, Blue and Green. And I used to have visions, I should say, or I would see things while I was performing this piece. And I always had visions of my father when I was doing this. And so it was a very, very special piece for me to perform. One of the highlights of, I would say, my dance career was doing this solo Blue and Green.
Can we keep walking through some of this stuff? I know you did a recent project with Matthew Richardson.
Yes, Matthew Richardson.
Trained at the Circus School, and then also he does work.
I did some work with him, on several occasions. And I just always found his work to be very true and honest, and I believed in it. And so in recent events in the United States, with George Floyd, I was here feeling very much like I had something to say about this, or I was disgruntled by these events, very much so. But many times you don't know how to react to these things. And Matthew approached me and said he wanted to do this film, dance circus film, a commentary on racism, and I immediately said yes, I will, whatever it is, I will participate in it. And I did, and when I saw the final product of what this was, which was actually released on Martin Luther King Day, it was so touching to me. I had to stop the video like 3 or 4 times because I could not contain my emotions as my eyes are watering as I speak now. And I'm getting a little goosebumps, but it was just so beautifully done. The cinematography and the photographs and the music that he used, the artists, all the circus artists and the dance artists, it just came together as one, and it was very poignant and moving to me. And also he filmed me in St. Jack's Monastery with the church stained glass kind of background, which is another point that was very prominent for me.
You've also done some underground pieces here, and maybe I may have seen a couple of these moments of you do underground stuff. Do you want to talk through a couple of those things?
I've done some. I guess more in the gay community. I've done some balls. I've done some black and blue events. I've done some band mature events, some leather balls, and I always found I was happy to do those things. They were fabulous events just to attend them. But it's also, again, it's a part of me. It's a part of my life. It's a part of who I am. And so to be involved in that and to put it out there and to celebrate that, it was like a no-brainer to me. It was a no question that I would not. It's like, Eric, will you do this? I'm like, yes.
So does that work influence some of your work, your more formal professional work on stage, or when you're teaching circus students?
I think it does. And maybe subconsciously and unconsciously it does. But there are some other decisions or approaches I take to when I'm teaching that are definitely influenced by that, to make people be aware of it, to be, of other cultures or other ways of being, to be open-minded to these things. I think it's important. It's the only way we can go forward, and we go forward through the arts of dance and circus, and I just seem to be involved in both of those. And which is giving me a double push to put that out there.
So is there anything that you think might be particularly queer about circus's possibilities for you? Is there maybe a difference between the dance worlds and the circus worlds in those aspects?
Or
no? You can say no too.
Yeah, I won't say no. But I will say yes, because I feel, the arts, we need them to broaden our minds and to share our connected humanity. And, in human nature, we are queer. We are gay. We are queer. We are so many things. And I think between circus, especially in circus, it's such a wide open door to express any type of point of view or any kind of message you want to bring across. And so the queer message, if we want to call it that, has very much a place to come out in the circus world. And I think at one point I feel like it's always been there. It's always been there. Or I have always seen it, and because it's not been an issue for me, I didn't have to point it out. But now when someone else points it out, that's really queer, or that's really gay, or that's I guess it is.
So then maybe this next question is the last question that I always ask of everybody, but is there something that we can now do to make the multiple arts, including circus, more queer friendly?
Is there something we can do more? I think just more of the same, and just bring on more and more. If you think that the cup is full, let it overflow. I've done so many things with so many different types of artists, like with DJs, with drag queens. I've done stuff with other dancers. Where I had to, have a persona that was not of my own, but I could create this persona through dance. I could do circus personas. So I think just to pour it out there, put it out there. Don't be afraid to put it out there. Use any media venue you can to express those things, to let it out there, and to let that human nature be known, to let those human connections be known.
Love it! I so love it. Thank you, Eric, for joining me in this beautiful space and this beautiful conversation.
Thank you.
It's just
totally my pleasure.
For this next segment, we will go somewhere different. We're going to go into the streets of Montreal, or at least a balcony over one of the streets of Montreal. Louis Guillemette, creator and crafter of so many queer circus moments here in Montreal, invited me to talk to him in a face-to-face in a beloved spot in his city. He offers as much. Listen carefully to what he says. Louis Guillemette uses the body as a research laboratory for ideas in motion. Contemporary art, expression, and the manifestation of identity are at the heart of his concerns. Since his beginnings in dance, Louis likes to transgress aestheticism, form, and content. Louis has been working in the performing arts, film and video as a performer, choreographer, improviser, teaching, artistic advisor, and designer for over 35 years. His work has been presented around the world, and he has collaborated with many international artists. He teaches a personal, technical, and creative approach in public and private institutions here and abroad. His singular vision has led him to co-found Montreal's Tangente, to dance for 5 years at the origin of La 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 Human Steps, and to collaborate with the international star Margie Gillis. He's worked for Cirque du Soleil, Circus, and has been teaching until his very recent retirement at the National Circus School, Concordia University, and Studio 303, his own personal approach to dance and creation.
Hello, Charles.
And hello, Louis. Bonjour, Louis.
Bonjour.
I have an official biography. What else do we need to know about Louis Guillemette?
Oh well, since the pandemic, I decided to retire in one sense, meaning I'm less into teaching, and I more directed myself towards programming, animation, mixed with that notion of multidisciplinarity or multi-character or or interdisciplinarity. What I feel more related with interdisciplinarity than
Tell me more.
Interdisciplinarity because my main focus all of my life was towards the body. The body, I can not, in my daily life, I'm more in a neutral bodies expression. But when it becomes to art and exhibit, I like that ideas of go beyond the what it's proposed usually, going to the gender bender, going to those mixed ideas through form and also disciplinary.
Well, this is a part of my question for you, is that you've given us some images about you as a performer. Can you tell us maybe some about that, maybe in the terms of this interdisciplinarity and queerness about you?
Yes. Then all those expression or those people I related with, all the eccentric, the dandies, the punk, the hippie. They have a specific aesthetic, and also not only through the aesthetic, but if we go back into those times, it was a reaction to normality, reaction to conformism, reaction to the conservatism, but with different angle. And for me, all that queer aspect right now, it's also a strong manifestation, but a strong also reaction to the conservatism, to the people they contract themselves spiritually, emotionally, intentionally, family, all through that they try to go, and it's a notion of fear. They go back in time a bit, or they want to froze the motion, the movement of those reality, and with that ideas of interdisciplinary, that motion ideas, motion, emotion, notion are always inspired me, always tease me, always I look through it and I transform, metamorphose through my work or the people I work with.
So when you have a circus artist that may be wanting to be a little bit different, who might want to express themselves, affirm themselves, what do you say? What do you do as an instructor, as a human, as a fellow artist, as a fellow queer artist?
Yeah. For me, it's very important that notion of authenticity. And for me, the body is a vehicle for moving ideas in art. And I go back into that ideas of the body is a moving vehicle for that interdisciplinary aspect, because the body is the place where all the memories, all the education, all who we are is in the body. And for sure, when you're young, you're in formation, transformation in your own bodies, maturation, and on and on and on. And it's not only like a little moment of strong expression, but I could say in a very not in a pejorative way, but in a very raw way. It's like a little ejaculation. It's a little it have to be expressed. But yes, but usually all those really spontaneous way are a bit naive too in term at the beginning. If you want to go and make a mark and not only shine under another star, but shine by yourself, you have to dig into it. You have to go deeper in the sense of I always say the 3A in French, because in French it's affirmation, acceptation, affirmation, and the other A is affiché, but in English we could say not posted, but
exhibit.
Yeah, to exhibit yourself, but in a sense of a proud exhibition. It's more than an exhibition, because if you're proud and you're sure of yourself, it's become something strong, and it could take any type of color. It's form, transform, metamorpho again.
So is this a way that you're saying that the development of a queer presence is the He's digging and exploring and expanding.
Yes, yes.
You
yes.
can say no.
No, yeah, yes. Yeah, yes, yes. Because we don't know exactly what it will be. We know what it is, but what it's interesting. What it could be, what it should be, what should, yes and no, but what it could be. What is the le devenir?
The becoming, the future.
The future, the becoming of that queerness. That's where my interest is in the education, for sure. What that queer guys or girl working on themselves, working on their and craft their act, craft their push the boundaries of their abilities, what it could become, instead of trying to lock them into a moment and make that moment in the long term, but how they could be very strong and very evolutive, transforming, forming, metamorphosing that who they are.
So I'm hearing your notion of maybe a utopia, but is it a possibility?
For me, it's a possibility because of those 3A. It's reassure ourselves with a solid ground, and we started to. It could become a bit like water. Those negativity. General negativities, specific negativities, or disobedient feedback, or all those things started to go a bit like water on the feathers. It's just it's less touching us deeply and disturb the person and to do a remise en question,
to question oneself, to explore and change.
Yeah, instead of just demolish and become and get into a depression, because it's easy when we're fragile, when we're opening up. We're fragile to stay into a place where we don't become stronger enough to go beyond, to throw a break in the wall. It's our responsibilities in the sense.
So this leads me to my last question already. The last question that I've asked of everybody in this series. Is there anything that we can or should do to make circus more queer? To make circus more this thing that we queers want to run away with?
I don't know if we have to do some things more, but we have to cultivate it for patient, to be patient, because human beings make one step in front and we move back 2 steps, and we move back 3-4 steps, and we move back 1 step. It's look like with my little life experience, it's look like it's like a seeds. You cannot force the seeds to be a flower because that's what you want and you expect. It takes time. It takes time. Then
and it takes water and it takes sunlight.
Yeah, we have to take care of it.
Yeah. On that, au revoir. And lastly, Billy Lamour, who takes us through a fantastically colorful conversation across many circus proximate arts. You may notice in one reference in the conversation that she says, join her on the dance floor. I say yes to that because that's actually where I first met Billy Lamour on a dance floor. So here's to the dance, and here's to Billy. Hello, Billy.
Hello, gorgeous.
So brilliant to see you. Thank you for joining us in this journey through queer circus.
Ooh la la. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Billy Lamour is a world-class singing, dancing, and stripping showgirl. She got her start in show business as a young ballerina when she joined the all-male comedy ballet company Les Ballets Grand Diva at age 17. She went on to dance with La 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 Human Steps and l'Opéra National de Paris. Now an old retired ballet rhino, Billy is a wig stylist to drag superstars, and she continues to dazzle audiences with a special cocktail of glamour, humor, and high kicks.
Ow! Who, me?
So brilliant. So that's like the official bio that you share. I'm asking this question of everybody as a follow-up. What do we really need to know about Billy?
Billy Lamour is just here on this planet to make people laugh, be silly, wiggles and giggles is my mantra. And I feel that entertainment, theater, circus, burlesque, drag, it's a healing work in a way. Before I perform, I always say a little prayer to the, whatever, the ancestors, the cosmic tribe, whatever, that they would use me for people to have an experience, whether it's a positive or negative one, because you don't know, somebody might hate what I do and go create something beautiful. So, we're not in control of that, but that's in a nutshell who Billy Lamour is.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeousness. Follow-up question. We're doing this thing called Journey Through Queer Circus, and we have Billy Lamour here. Tell me about your circus proximities.
So I danced with La 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 in Montreal I think I moved there to dance when I was 18. And so I was obviously immersed in the huge, diverse circus culture in Montreal from a very young age. So that would be my proximity to it. However, when I retired from Le Ballet and became a ballerino, when I started producing my own shows, variety shows, I think audiences deserve more than just one thing in a show, just drag or just burlesque. I wanted to have a little piece of everything: comedy, magic, burlesque, drag, and circus. Because circus does something that I don't feel any of the art forms can do. It is so, it's surrealism. And with just a hula hoop or just a contortion or even a rousseau, if we have the space for it, it can transcend reality for 5 minutes for the audience. And it's, if you can't have pyrotechnics and big stage effects, that is a very good thing to have in a show.
So I'm so intrigued by the fact that you as a producer are making choices to make sure that queer circus happens within a queer performance.
Yes. Well, I think everyone that I worked with was queer in some form or another. Absolutely.
Love this. Maybe let's back up to some of those images.
Yes, absolutely. So in those images, I was 17 years old. I had joined this ballet company, and, we had to dance on point, and we had to dance on point well. We took ballet class every day on point, rehearsals every day on point, and we did all the roles that are classical ballet roles, Swan Lake, Nutcracker, and then we also did Balanchine ballets for the neoclassical stuff. And then on top of that, we had to add a character, a persona, and comedy. So it was such a great training for me as a young drag queen in the making to learn makeup, wigs, stage presence, characterization, comedy, all of these elements. And so you'll see me there in these gorgeous tutus for Minkus Gala and Satinella and fabulous ballets.
From there, you also have a small clip where you're performing with La La La. And that piece is developed on point. Do you want to walk us through that?
Yes, absolutely. I had been dancing with La La La, creating the show Amelia for about a year, 6 months. And then I mentioned to Edward Locke, the choreographer, that in my previous company, I danced on point. And he said, oh, that's very interesting. Why don't you bring in your shoes and, we'll see what happens. And then it became this big thing. And, we had a beautiful duet, myself and Zofia Tuyaka, who is also very androgynous. And we both danced on point in Armani suits with our little pink point shoes. And I think it was quite a hit, and it made it into the film version of Amelia. However, the clip you will be seeing is Zofia and I dancing, her on point, me on flat. We had 2 dances together in that show.
You're always like doing this interdisciplinarity, interartisticalities of drag and burlesque and theater. You even show another clip of you at the Montreal Burlesque Festival doing that sort of work.
Yes.
What's going on with you when you were doing that as a creator on stage, when you're,
Well, when I retired from my career as a ballet dancer, I said to myself, you already had your dream career, so you should probably go into something sensible, something stable, and become a singing drag queen. So that's exactly what I did. I'm a performer, so I can't go to graphic design school. I would be a nightmare. So I created Billy L'Amour, the singing, dancing goddess of love and stupidity and giggles and wiggles. So so in the clip from the Montreal Burlesque Festival, you will see me doing My Heart Belongs to Daddy. And I thought I need to twist it somehow. I need to twist the burlesque element because I'm in drag. And also, honey, if you've seen one glove come off, you've seen them all come off. So what I did was I made satin gloves that were 20 feet long. So it starts off just looking like a normal striptease, and then all of a sudden she gets surprised by her gloves being a little bigger than she had expected. And so it creates a really nice effect on scenographically. Is that how we say it?
I love
beauty and brains. Wow.
So we all thrill to Billy L'Amour. There are challenges, right, to this work as a queer performer. Is it always just giggles and wiggles?
Well, no. I mean, having a career as a performer in show business, as we call it in the industry, is a lot of work. A good friend of mine, Jackie Beat, says there's no room for dignity in show business. When I was working for a ballet company, somebody paid me every week, somebody organized the tours, somebody, there was somebody to do everything for me. All I had to do was show up. Now, as this, I have to do everything. If I want a show, well, guess what? I got to put it together. I got to find a venue. I got to develop an audience over years and, continue to keep doing that. So it's a lot of hard work. It's not just wiggles and giggles. And in the end, it's worth it because it's what I love to do. And there's so many different jobs. There's so many different hats to wear. So it's very fulfilling for me. And I did, I saw my colleagues who are older and, in their 50s and 60s who, are still having to hustle and go out in the streets and do what we call barking for their show, where you hand out flyers and tell people to come see your show that night. And I thought, I don't want to be that age in the street with all these young kids doing that. So I went to hair school. I started my own wig line. I style wigs for drag queens now. So what I've done is I've created a daytime job that is also a passion. And then I have my nighttime job where I perform in the finest theaters and cabarets and back alleys of the world. Oh, so it's wonderful.
So it sounds like, indeed, to not use some of the metaphors that may be coming more quickly to mind, that you land on your feet in front of these challenges, right? Is that, do you have recommendations for others that may be watching this going, gosh, I really hope that I hope I land my point?
For me, I had to think what inspired me and what I wanted to channel and what I wanted to create. And then I found, obviously I had other performers that had inspired me for a very long time. And I found the things that I liked about them. And I used that along with my inspirations to find what it was that I wanted to do. Everybody does death drops, everybody lip syncs Ariana Grande, but Billy Lamore is gonna take you on a ride in her time machine and do Anne Margaret and all of these, fabulous, glamorous, old Las Vegas showgirl numbers. And it's not what you would think would be commercially successful, and that's not what I'm doing, why I'm doing this. So I think if you do what you love and you do it well, the audience connects with that. And you just got to keep doing it and keep developing it.
Maybe that's just going to take me to our very last question. Can you imagine a last question already?
Already?
What might it be that we can do as a universe, as performers, as creators, as creatives, as humans trying to do our best on this planet to make circus, to make the circus proximate arts of drag and burlesque and theater yet more queer friendly, making it something with which we really want to run away?
I don't know, girl. Book more queer people up in it? I don't know. I mean, I think that we all need to let our queer colors shine. And so, I just think the more people are authentic with who or whatever they are, then the more people will see that and identify with it and let theirs shine as well. I can't tell you how many times people come up to me in the audience and they say, wow, you created a character that is like something I've always imagined I would do if I did drag one day. And so it creates a door for them to come out and let that inner energy shine. So I think the more we're all just our authentic selves, the more that over time it will continue to be more inclusive as society evolves. So
gorgeousness. Thank you.
And obviously not booking any breeders, fuck them. They've not included us since the beginning of time. Well, maybe not back in ancient times and native tribes and things like that, but in modern history. So fuck them. Don't book them. Everything ain't for everybody, but they can buy a ticket. I tell you, straight audiences are great audience. They're always very appreciative, and they love the queer circus, burlesque, drag, all of that. They love it, and they pay, honey. They pay. Great.
Oh, well, all those happy words, that indeed, that actually maybe that there's not just a past and a present, but a future. And then the notion of authentic selves is one that resonates. That's going to resonate with me. So thank you so much. Oh my gosh, Billy, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.